They knew they were going to use the airplanes as the cover to demolish the building. So it's not, you know, a lot of people in the 9/11 truth community have gotten kind of, at first, when I first broke this news, they were like, you know, a lot of people attacked me and they said, you're saying there were airplane hijackings. No, no, there was a demolition. And I'm like saying, no, no, there's both of it. Both things happened. They knew this, they knew the airplanes were going to be hijacked, so they used it as a cover for to guarantee maximum destruction because they already knew the consequence of war. So, there you have it. Sure. And okay, yeah.
I forget what you said that your job was. You're a go-between.
I was what's called an asset.
Right. Okay.
I was an intelligence asset. I was supervised by handlers for the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency. I was not covert. This is I was covert from your end. Like you guys, the American people had no idea that President Clinton had opened up a back channel because they didn't want you all to know this. But in fact, from the very first meetings that I have at the Iraqi embassy and the Libyan embassy, they were told who I was. They knew that I was a passionate anti-sanctions activist and passionately anti-war. I hated the first Gulf War, had protested the Gulf War, and I wanted to do anything that I could to try to create a communications. They couldn't have a formal communications because of the sanctions. They were officially on the pariah list, and yet they had to have some kind of communications and discussion in order to on terrorism specifically.
So my question is, you were a back channel between everybody. I find it odd that your boss doesn't talk to the people in the administration.
Oh, they did.
They send you over there to yell at people.
Well,
or tell them.
I think that he did. I know that he did. I know that he did. Well, what he did was, I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe that he contributed to the White House memo on the presidential directive instruction request. There's a formal term for that. I'm afraid I don't know I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. He did contribute to that, and he had vastly more information than I did. I was getting all my knowledge from him. But the fact that we needed fast turnaround on this because we thought the attack was within a couple of weeks. In fact, the attack didn't occur for another. This was August 6th, and it occurred over a month later. But we thought that the attack could come as early as, you know, the 3rd or 4th week of August. We thought it was imminent. And so, well, he probably did also. Everybody was doing it. See, this is the thing that, I mean, no offense, but there was so much discussion about this attack. Everybody was talking about it. George Tenet had some meetings. Other analysts had meetings at the White House that Condoleezza Rice has like conveniently pretended didn't happen. But there was a lot of knowledge, and the fact that I would be able to get the Attorney General's attention, the staff attention, by saying I'm in direct contact with Iraq. That's kind of like that's like a bona fide thing that in the CIA. That's like they call it bona fide.
So more information to them is better.
Yeah, exactly. We were, and it wasn't like a supervisory thing at that point. They wanted someone with direct contact, because I had direct contact with the events, and I could cite that and say, you need to listen to me, because I spoke with the Iraqis on Saturday, and I need to tell you this. You know, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's, I'm sure he also did, I know he did other things too.
Okay. In the course of your talk, what I haven't heard is any real evidence that there was a genuine jihadi plot. Maybe that's in your book, but you haven't said anything to show me that such a plot existed. In fact, the impression I get from the evidence that you presented about what your bosses were talking about and what was going on in the U.S. government is that the U.S. government was trying to create a predictive situation
Yes.
with this attack.
Yes.
Which, in my opinion, could well have been the sum and substance of the attack, and that, you know, as I said, I haven't seen anything that you said that shows me that there was a genuine jihadi plot.
You know, this is a very good question because it's really questionable that there was a jihadi plot. I do believe there were hijackers. Now, I have to tell you that I do believe there were hijackers. On the other hand, I know that the people that they did identify were assets. Okay? They worked for the United States government. And they were the men who were identified as the hijackers were not jihadis. They were not devoutly religious men. They went to strip clubs, they drank alcohol, they smoked cigarettes, they chased women. Real deep, authentic jihadis would do none of that. They were, you know, and so it's really curious to me as to what and I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately, but what their final minutes must have been on this earth. What did they think they were doing? I truly do not know. I don't know if they thought it was just a training exercise. I don't know if they thought, I just don't know. But I do not believe they were real jihadis.
One other point. You say that there was a point in midsummer 2001 when the CIA and elements in the U.S. government may have become concerned that having planned this event and prepared for it, that the alleged jihadi pilots weren't going to be able to accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
Well, now, according to the official version of 9/11, they did accomplish the goal of flying the airplanes into the buildings. And so, do you think that the CIA made a mistake and underestimated the talent of these pilots?
Well, here's the thing. They did fly into the building, of course, they did. And they could have been on automatic pilot. That makes sense. We know that there was a heightened GPS and heightened cell phone activity that is very unusual. Usually the GPS only works it doesn't work at certain altitudes. And at a scale of like 1 to 10, the GPS signal was working at a 10, whereas ordinarily it might work at a 4. See? And so something was helping boost, and it had to be boosted. It couldn't have just spontaneously done this on its own. Something had to be boosting the GPS signal. And it's just a matter of scientific requirement that it had to be boosted, and it was. The cell phone was the same thing. Some people have tried to say that the cell phone conversations did not happen. I do believe they did happen. I do believe that people got through to their spouses. But again, you see that it had to be there had to be some technological boost for it to be done. And I think that the hijackers got a lot of help. They got a lot of help.
My general view is sort of what I'm asking is, that's what I thought actually happened, was it was both, planes and the demolition bomb.
Yeah.
But without a lot of information, that's just what seemed to make sense. If you consider problems I'm having, if you consider books like Russ Baker's Family Secrets,
Yeah.
Yes.
Andy Jacobson's Area 51 that just
Yes.
came out recently, and the last one I just read was Naomi Wolf's The End of America.
Yes.
And
Good. Yeah.
well, I mean, it's just so relevant. So how can you expect us, knowing the corruption of moral character, is what I believe what it is. I think fundamentally where we're at is a spiritual crisis, in essence, the big picture.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of interested in you in part of that, because I'm sure there are people that are dedicated in the CIA that are very trustworthy.
Well,
You know, I mean, well, I'm trustworthy in the sense that their motivations are clear. But I think overall, considering all the torture and the long history that it's had, and you can't believe anything. Basically, you can't. You just don't know. There's so much spin with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying there's not dedicated individuals. I think there are. But
Sure.
I don't think everybody's black and white.
Sure.
So, what I'd like to get from you in part is first of all, your picture of the big overall. What's the primary motivation of the war? But who? I mean, what is the big picture? Who are the big honchos at the top that are directing it?
Well, I'd like to answer this on a couple of levels. First of all, the CIA has a long track record of doing false flag operations on itself. And one of the reasons that I may be more trustworthy is that I was an asset, not a CIA director. My CIA handler received $13 million tax-free. Didn't even have to pay $1 in taxes. Is that not the sweetest thing you've ever heard in your life? From the 9/11 investigation of emergency appropriations that were intended for the Iraq to secure Iraq's cooperation. And he took the money, and you've never heard him speak. And when I was under indictment, my own CIA handler refused to speak to my attorneys for 5 years. If he had spoken to my attorneys at any time at all, we could have ended my indictment entirely. But the other thing is that the reason you should trust me is because I paid for this. I was locked up in prison on a military base for a year, and I was held under indictment for 5 years. And the government was so, if you do a little research on my story, you'll find the government was so threatened by what I was going to say that they actually argued this is like a record. There's a history of this. You can confirm this. They wanted to forcibly drug me with Haldol, Ativan, and Prozac, which would have chemically lobotomized me, because they said that they admitted that I was not hallucinating. I do not suffer depression. For those of you who do suffer depression, sorry, but I don't. I don't have mood disturbances. They said I had good eye contact. I was cooperative, smiling. They could not identify anything wrong with me except that I argued that my defense was I had worked in anti-terrorism for 9 years, and I warned about 9/11, and my team warned about 9/11. And they tried to detain me up to 10 years. They actually petitioned the court for the right, on the Patriot Act, for the right to detain me up to 10 years in prison with no trial and no hearing. Imagine that. The government is arguing that we don't have to give this woman a hearing. We can just lock her up indefinitely. And I was the test case on this, and it was horrible. And they wanted to lock me up and forcibly drug me at the same time so that I would be so destroyed. They told the judge that they had no idea how long my cure was going to take, but they wanted it. The judge in my case was Michael Mukasey. Michael Mukasey later became U.S. Attorney General, and I fought so hard, and my beloved companion, sweet, wonderful Jay Fields, who died of cancer, unfortunately, never lived to see me exonerated. He fought in the blogs, and he fought on alternative radio, because the corporate media refused to cover my story. They didn't want to tell you what was going on. They said that they implied very strongly that I was a religious maniac. And I do believe in God, and I have a spiritual life. Yes, I do. But I'm not a religious maniac. I guess a religious maniac would be someone like the Elizabeth Smart rapist, kidnapper, who went into court and was like spouting religious stuff and was standing up and singing hymns in court, stuff like that. They wanted me to. Yeah. It was, and when they realized that there was actually I call it my Amnesty International moment,